So unfortunately, I just covered the story of Democrats saying we're not even going to get anything through reconciliation for fiscal year 2021. We're not going to get anything else through reconciliation. So in other words, of course we're not going to get it through regular order. That requires 60 votes. Are you insane? We have nowhere near that for anything. But even reconciliation, we're not going to fight. We're going to back off. It's too hard to get all the Democrats to fall in line. It's too hard to agree on an agenda. So we're backing off of that too. So you're not going to get anything through regular order. You're not going to get anything through reconciliation. The other thing we learned is Biden totally has now backed off of any further student loan debt relief. There was chatter after he did the $1 billion of relief for people who were scammed by for-profit colleges. $1 billion out of nearly $1.7 trillion in student loan debt. So it was nothing to begin with. But after that, they were saying, hey, maybe he'll do $50,000 worth of student loan debt relief, or maybe he'll do $10,000 worth of student loan debt relief. What we're learning is, no, he's not going to do that either. But now we have another one, and this one is as bad as it gets. So I'm reading from Newsweek here. After Joe Biden broke his healthcare pledge, emboldened lobbyists are targeting the states. I'm going to come back to that headline in a minute. Let me read you a little bit from this piece. When President Joe Biden outlined his legislative priorities during his first address to Congress last month, notably absent was a major campaign promise, a public health insurance option. He campaigned on that. Instead, the current health reform proposal will funnel $200 billion more to private insurance companies to subsidize premiums without any requirement that they cap out-of-pocket costs or eliminate them altogether. As a result of Biden's approach, states have been left to introduce public option legislation themselves, in the process taking on some of the nation's largest and most politically organized businesses. From coast to coast, health insurance companies, hospitals, and pharmaceutical companies are using every tactic at their disposal to block states from passing public option legislation. Such efforts show how determined the industry is to block any sort of reform that threatens its massive profits. Okay, so remember when the debate was happening during the primary, Bernie would say, I want single-payer Medicare for all. That's the solution. And then most of the other people on stage, with some exceptions, most of them would say, no, I don't agree with that. I think we should do a public option because it's more realistic. We can't start from scratch with our healthcare system. That's too hard to do. You have to work with the system as it currently exists. You can't just make up a new world and start from scratch. These were some of the counter arguments that were made. But virtually everybody on stage who didn't agree with Medicare for all said public option. Now, the reason they had this debate is because the Overton window shifted on the issue of healthcare over the years. And now that's the bare minimum that the American people are okay with. They either want a public option or Medicare for all. And if you're not for one of those things, you're so out of lockstep with regular people that you may as well tattoo on your forehead, I'm a corrupt sellout. Well, guess what? Biden wins, immediately drops even the public option. So he was never for Medicare for all. He campaigned on the public option, immediately drops the public option. And then what does he do? They already did this, by the way, in one of the previous relief packages. They did massive subsidies to for-profit health insurance companies. They subsidized Cobra. They're saying here, this is what's happening, a $200 billion subsidy to Cobra. The whole point of that is just let their donors loot the treasury. That's the whole point of this. The whole point of it is, hey, the health insurance lobby gives the Republicans and the Democrats a bunch of money when they run for office. And so now it's I scratch your back, you scratch mine. And I'm going to make sure that you're taken care of. And while I can nominally argue, what? I'm doing healthcare reform. I'm giving some more people healthcare. What? You're perpetuating a broken system where a mafia price gouges everybody on a regular basis. That's what you're doing. So now, zero pushback from the White House. Honestly, zero pushback from even the left flank of the Democrats. I don't see anybody even pushing Biden to stay true to the public option plan. None of them. Crickets from the fucking Justice Democrats. On one of the number one issues to the American people. In the middle of a pandemic, we're talking about healthcare. They won't even hold them accountable to a fucking public option, never mind minimum wage. Well, guess what? Now, since there's no pushback, there's no push from the White House, there's no taking on the special interest, because Biden saw this fight when he was part of the Obama administration. He's like, I really want no part of this. So guess what? Now, the health insurance companies and the lobbyists are emboldened. So states are stepping in and saying, we have no choice, like we have to do something because the coronavirus pandemic is destroying us. So what are we going to do? Some states are now in the process of trying to get some sort of healthcare reform through, and now the health insurance companies are targeting them. So in other words, they completely defeated federal representatives, right? The federal government is wholly bought and owned by the health insurance industry. And so they're like, we got the senators, we got the Congress people, we got the president, we got the White House. So now they're out of the way. They'll do our bidding. I guess we got to target the states now to try to stop them from doing any kind of healthcare reform that would cut into their profits even a little bit. Even if you try to do a fucking public option at the state level, they're going to try to block that shit. So here we are. We literally have a healthcare system run by the dead last people who should ever be running the healthcare system because there's a conflict of interest. The whole incentive system, the whole structure is made so that they make more money the more they deny care. That's the way it works. It's a for-profit health insurance system. You pay in, you pay your premiums, you pay your copays, you pay your deductibles. And they try to weasel out of paying for any of your stuff because that's how they make more money. That's how they make more profit. That's how they take care of their shareholders. This is a perverse incentive structure. It's obviously a perverse incentive structure. It's like, why is it that everybody understands you can't have a private fire department? You can't have a private police department because it's just a private mercenary army effectively. And they can be bought. Why does everybody understand that that's not acceptable? It's not acceptable to have a private army, right? Everybody understands you can't do that. That's a government function. But somehow when it comes to healthcare, we're still acting like complete idiots. As if the answers are not known. It's not me saying this, guys. It's the World Health Organization study, which, granted, this was from nearly 2 decades ago now, but it said we're ranked 37 in the world. And it was all the universal healthcare systems in other developed countries that were throughout the top 10. Put that one aside. Put that one aside because it is old, granted. But the Commonwealth Fund report comes out often. And every single time they say the same fucking thing. They recently looked into 11 different healthcare systems. You know what we ranked? 11th out of 11. Why are we all pretending like we don't have answers? Why are we all pretending like this isn't something we can empirically check? We know that Medicare for All saves money in the long run. It saves money. We know that you cover everybody and it costs less and it has better health outcomes. We know this. The reason why we're not fighting for it, the reason why we're not doing it is because of the health insurance companies. They are corrupt. The health insurance companies have bought the politicians and the politicians do their bidding. And they only pass legislation that will continue to allow them to act like a rapacious middleman, like a mafia in between you and your doctor. And the fact of the matter is, you have less freedom under this system, not more freedom. They always bring up choice. Well, guess what? The way the system works now, you could pick a doctor and the health insurance company could say, no, you're not going to go to that doctor because they're not in network. That's the way the system works now. Under Medicare for All system, you go to whatever fucking doctor you want. You have to get an approval from some mafia middleman who's only there to price gouge you and get in between you and your doctor. They have totally waved the white flag on this, and shame on all of them. Shame on Joe Biden. Shame on everybody in the White House. Shame on every single senator and congressperson, because I don't even see them holding him accountable to the fucking public option, never mind Medicare for All. And so now the health insurance companies are going to go all around the country and buy state governments too. And we're going to get no healthcare reform, and medical bills will continue to be the top cause of bankruptcy in this country. Anything else you want to give up on, Joe? We already discussed it today. They're not going to do any more reconciliation packages for the next 4 months, at least, and they won't get anything after that either, because then they're going to hit a brick wall. They're not going to do any more student loan debt relief. They're not going to do any healthcare reform. So what are you going to do? You're going to do nothing. You're going to lose in the upcoming election, and then you're going to blame the fucking left, and the media is going to push that narrative. We need a new FDR. We need somebody who's actually going to fight to change the system, redistribute the wealth, create a thriving social democracy, not a broken capitalist dystopia, which is what we're in now.